Okay, so in this video, let's take a look at 3 examples of how we can use the invoke method from Cypress. In this first example, we are going to use invoke to call the slice method on an array that gets returned from a JSON endpoint. So we're using site.request to make a call to this endpoint that's going to return a collection of posts. Then we're using its to grab the body property off of that payload, which itself is an array. And so then we can call invoke and then call the slice method that's on the array and give it the starting index and the ending index. Then that returns a new array. So then we can call the length property of that array, and we're asserting that it should be equal to 5. So let's check our test, and we can see that it passes. So then we can step through and show how this works because Cypress is running in the browser. So we make our get request, and here's the request details, and there's our body. Then when we call the .its method with the body, it yields an array with 100 posts in it. Then we're calling slice on that body array, and that gives us 5 posts. And then we're calling .length, which gives us 5, and then there's our assertion. Okay, in this next example, we're using the invoke method to test for accessibility attributes. So we're going to the learn.cypress.io website, clicking on getting the courses dropdown, which is in the navigation, and we're making an assertion that we're getting the area expanded attribute on this dropdown, and it should be false by default because it's not opened. Then we're getting it again, we're clicking on it, and then we want to make sure that the area expanded attribute now says true when the dropdown is open. And so when we run our test, we can see that everything passes. Okay, in our final example, we're using invokes to call jQuery's hide method to hide an element on the page. So we're going to learn site again. We're getting an element with an ID of courses. We're invoking jQuery's hide method, and we're asserting that the element should no longer be visible on the page. And when we run our test, it passes because that element is no longer on the page.